Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
I'm going to do all 5 stages of grief on this pod.
Okay.
So
Can you name the 5 stages of grief?
I'm reading an article on prevention.com about the 5 stages of grief right now. You know, maybe the medical won't clear. Edwin's legs are 2 different lengths. Maybe the Dodgers won't like that.
That's true. Something tells me they fucking love that.
The new market inefficiency.
Something tells me they're shaving an inch off of Shohei's left leg as we speak.
Oh boy. Okay. Maybe this isn't the energy that people expected when they came to this podcast, but as we know, grief takes many forms.
What did you expect when you came to this podcast? Respectfully.
All right, Alex. Let's get down to brass tacks here. Late morning on Tuesday, December 9th, the news broke that Edwin Díaz, the star closer of the New York Mets, and I would say a spiritual fulcrum of the team for the last 6 seasons.
Oh. You don't get many of those these days.
And the league's running low on starting pitchers and spiritual fulcrum.
I agree.
Is the plural of fulcrum fulcrums or is it fulcri?
I was going to say fulcri. All
right. You don't get many
which is what you've been doing the last 48 hours.
She's here all week, folks. News broke that Edwin Díaz was signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers, not the New York Mets, for 3 years and $69 million. Let me tell you a little bit about where I was when this news broke. I was sitting right where you see me now on this Riverside link. I was sitting exactly where you see me now, viewer, on Vimeo, at my desk with a computer right in front of me, as I so often am. Only this time I was not working at this hour. Instead, I was in the middle of therapy.
Oh, no.
And not only, Alex, was I in the middle of a therapy session when this happened, I would typically never look at my phone during the middle of a therapy session. It would be somewhere else. Well, it just so happened at this moment, maybe 10 minutes after the news broke, my therapist's cat knocked over his cup of coffee. So he was like, man, I need a minute to clean it up.
Yeah.
So he goes off camera to clean up the coffee that his cat just spilled all over his floor. And what do? I look down at my phone ever so briefly to see a tweet notification, a post notification from X the Everything app. Edwin Díaz, breaking. Edwin Díaz has signed a 3-year, $69 million with the Los Angeles, a 3-year, $69 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you know what I did? Didn't talk to my therapist about it. That's for sure. I wasn't ready yet.
So that's stage 1, right? Which is denial?
Correct. That's stage 1, which is save it for the pod, bro.
Exactly.
Flash forward 29 hours to Wednesday, December 10th, the day that we're recording this podcast right now. Not quite 29 hours, 27 hours, we'll call it. 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Another breaking news notification from Jeffrey Passan. Breaking.
Is it
Pete Alonso? Huh?
Is it Jeffrey?
As opposed to just Jeff? Just plain Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why don't we call him up and ask him?
Look, I know somehow he has managed to have... he's managed to name search this podcast that's being delivered in audio form and video on Vimeo. So when he sees it, he'll let us know.
No, he's going to be too busy being annoyed at me for quote tweeting everything he tweets and saying, my sources, the Pirates were third on this guy. 2:30 p.m. we'll call it. Breaking. First baseman Pete Alonso and the Baltimore Orioles are in agreement on a 5-year, $155 million contract. And just like that, in the span of less than 28 hours, the New York Mets no longer have two of the longest tenured players on their roster and two of the most beloved fan favorites. If you date it back 2 weeks, 3, including Brandon Nimmo, who is now a member of the Texas Rangers. And I have to say, Alex, as I move out of phase 1 into phase 2 here,
which is
anger.
Okay.
I'm pretty fucking pissed about this.
All right. I should have let you finish your sentence. I could have guessed that. Rightfully so.
Can I tell you why I'm pissed? Because it's not that neither of these guys are on the team. I am mad about that. I am irritated about that. But in a vacuum, either or both of these decisions might be okay. They might be. They might be okay. But what I am most pissed about is that these kinds of decisions happening on back-to-back days used to be the kind of thing that you had to have decades of institutional stability to be able to make those decisions on back-to-back days. And I know, I understand that Edwin and Pete left of their own free accord. Both of them were free agents. Edwin even opted out and chose to sign with the Dodgers for a not really that significant amount of money more than he would have gotten from the Mets, and maybe even less.
I think it was
than he
$3
would have
million
gotten from the
right?
Mets. Yes. But I'm pissed because of the nonchalant nature with which the Mets are treating what has happened in the last 2 weeks. It's one thing to bring in David Stearns, a guy who made it to the NLCS a couple times with the Brewers and never really looked that close. And by all accounts is a really smart guy, really competent, really with it by all of the metrics through which you would judge a president of baseball operations, a baseball executive these days. It's another thing entirely to act like we have to anoint him the once and future king of baseball executives, the heir to the Theo Epstein and Andrew Friedman throne. By the way, Andrew Friedman's still doing it. Still not that old.
Mm-hmm. It's not given up the throne yet.
It's another thing entirely to be within 3 years, everybody's back in their bags. And I'm pissed about the fact that at every press conference, no matter how forthcoming he is, he's quite smug about the fact that he thinks this is going to work out and that he thinks this is the right decision. When in reality, as I have talked about many, many times on this podcast, in relation to David Stearns or otherwise, there's really a lot that's out of his control. And so you, in a very short amount of time, burned a ton of goodwill with the fan base, severed a lot of ties and memories that the fan base had. And in its place, you've sold them this hyper futurist version of what it's like to build a baseball team, while not really selling them any sort of value proposition of why that's going to be fun to root for the next 2 to 4 years. They have so many decisions, and on paper, it looks like he still has a lot left to do and he could still turn this offseason around, and maybe that's true. But roster flexibility, you can't root for roster flexibility.
Yeah.
And you can't root for hope that the next young guy might turn into Pete Alonso or Brandon Nimmo. You could dream on that if you're a really plugged in baseball fan, but you can't really come to the ballpark, which is what I need to do. I need to be in the ballpark next year. I need to be there, eating a hot dog, drinking a beer. That's what I need. And I'm kind of pissed because it's bad timing. The series of events that this happened, the sequential order of them, makes it really hard for him to defend any of these moves because we don't know what's on the other side of the equation yet. But undeniably, this is poor from a fan relation process.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Stearns has telegraphed this pretty much from the second that the postseason ended, right? That we can't just run the same team back that we did in 2025, right? Like, clearly that doesn't work. We have to make changes. He has said repeatedly that we're not going to make signings based on emotional decisions, right? We're not going to let that get in the way of negotiations. But what I'm seeing is that it's him pulling this sort of like, I'm smarter than sentiment routine without any real payoff or like clear plan of like what that means. Again, like you said, we don't know. We're only in December. It's a long off season, but also we're in December and the calendar's about to flip. And what I'm seeing is you're letting your franchise first baseman walk because you think you're too smart to pay for like proven production at a market rate. Which is what that, correct me if I'm wrong, did the Mets make Pete an offer? Like I mean, barring the one they did a couple years ago, right? Which he has, I think, since outperformed on the market. Good for him. He got, I think, something in the realm of $50 million more than what the Mets offered him in 2023.
For context, the Mets offered him, heading into the last year of team control that they had for him, they offered him a 7-year extension for $158 million. Pete turned it down. Pete's a Boris client. He was always going to turn that down and hit his free agency and actually hear the offers from other teams. It didn't go so hot last year. He was coming off of the worst year of his career in his last year of team control. So he signed on a modest deal with the Mets last year, and he backed it up this year. He had one of the better years of his career, one of the, better than average for the rest of his career. And he turned 31 recently. So the market was never super hot for him, but yes, he did beat it. And I think that, no, the Mets did not technically paper him an offer, but I don't think that really matters. I think that both sides had a pretty clear understanding of what the Mets were willing to offer. Based on the negotiations from last year and based on the sort of depreciation of what his value would be to the Mets. And it seems like the sticking point was like the length of the contract. And the Orioles were willing to match AAV and give an extra year, which at that point you can talk about whether or not the Mets should have done that, and you can have reasonable debates on both sides. And I probably will as I head to the third stage here and get into the bargaining stage.
That's really the third stage, is bargaining?
Yeah. You don't know shit about...
Because you start to rationalize it? No.
You don't know shit about grief.
No.
Wait till you see stage 4. You're going to be really excited about it, to be on the podcast with me for stage 4. I love the phrase that you just said in the middle of that, which was that he thinks he's smarter than sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe he is. Maybe he is smarter than the sentiment. Does being smart always work out?
Right.
Is the smartest move always the right move? Are the teams that made all the smartest move the teams that come away with the World Series trophy? I mean, maybe the Dodgers made the most smart moves in the aggregate, but they also gave Tanner Scott $72 million, and he wasn't even on the playoff roster.
Yeah.
That's not a smart move, sabermetrically. I think, if I could backslide into anger for a second.
Yeah, let's go. It's fluid.
I think it's actually fucking bullshit that baseball has just become, we've just bent the knee to the sabermetric move is the only move now. It used to be that like you could justify a cold calculated decision like this by saying
we're recreating him in the aggregate.
We're literally by saying we're recreating him in the aggregate, and like a small but vocal minority of people would say that's actually technically the right decision. And then if it works out in the aggregate, great, good, fine. We're going to rebuild new relationships with whoever is on the Mets in 2026. Let's just be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like simply the Mets cannot overpay him because otherwise David Stearns is an idiot who should be fired. It's like, well, they overpaid Juan Soto. Was that okay? Where, like, are we really? This is like the like Jedi dumb guy Jedi meme on the like bell curve.
Yeah.
On one side, it's like we shouldn't care about statistics. All we should care about is love and hope and vibes and chemistry. And in the middle, there's the guy who's like freaking out about, ex woba and exit velocity and the aging curve of first corner infielders who weigh over 257 pounds or something like that and have a sprint speed in the 21st percentile or lower. And then on the other side, it's like we should only care about love, hope, and vibes.
Yeah,
like,
honestly, yes. Well, and if you are the richest, the new richest, like individual owner in Major League Baseball, is that what you're going for? The guy in the middle who's freaking out over xWOBA or launch angle or aging curves? Maybe. That's not the tune that he has been singing the last 2 years. I don't want to steal our thunder from maybe the second part of this conversation, but there is a sort of interesting inflection point in all of this in terms of the sort of ancillary plays that Steve Cohen is making as well, while he is investing or not investing in the team, namely the casino license that he was granted, a week and a half ago.
Thank you for listening to my suffering. If you liked what you heard, you want to hear the rest of the episode where we continue to talk about the Mets letting Pete Alonso and Edwin Díaz walk, as well as Steve Cohen getting his casino, head over to patreon.com/tippingpitches. Right now and for the next week, you can get your first month of the Alex Rodriguez VIP Club tier for just $1 by using code GRIEF, GRIEF, GRIEF. Head on over there. The full episode is really good. I really particularly loved our conversation about the casino. We'll be back here on the main feed this coming Monday. See you then.